All right, welcome back. After that quick break, we appreciate it. Here on OpenLine tonight, we're talking about gun legislation here in the legislature in 2022. Our guest is Jessie McKinney, and she is providing us with an update, and I really appreciate it, Jessie. Let's talk about another bill. I know there is a bill, HB 1735, that you have mentioned that wants to lower the permitless handgun carry age limit from 21 to 18. Tell me a little bit about what you know about HB 1735.
Yes, this is one of the bills that I've been watching, and Moms Demand Action has been watching. It is a bill that we do not support. We oppose this bill. And what it would do is exactly what you said. Right now, we do have permitless carry in the state of Tennessee for 21 and older. That was passed last session, despite multiple law enforcement agencies speaking out against it, but it did pass. And now, just 1 year later, the legislators are trying to lower the age from 21 to 18 that someone could carry a weapon. And this is another one of those things that I just find is common sense. You know, I am a parent to teenagers, and I think, you know, hopefully you guys maybe remember what it was like to be a teenager. And teenagers just do not have the same level of logic and reason that older people do. That is why already 18, 19, 20-year-olds kill people with guns at a rate 3 times higher than those 21 and over. So already this age group, 18, 19, 20, kills people with guns at a rate 3 times more than people 21 and over. And I just think it's a bad idea to let 18, 19, 20-year-olds to have access to permitless carry. It just doesn't make sense.
Do you know, if you've been watching this, the bill's sponsors, why do they say that this is needed and important in Tennessee?
I haven't heard a clear articulation, to be honest, of why this is. I know that in some cases, people will mention that if you join the military at 18, you are able to, you know, serve your country and carry a weapon. But the military also is very big on gun safety, and they go through extensive training before they're able to carry their weapons. And that is a much different situation than an average 18, 19, 20-year-old being able to carry a loaded gun in public without any training.
All right, I'm reading about where this bill is right now. I know it recommended for passage by the Calendar and Rules Committee this week, placed the Finance, Ways and Means Committee. They have placed it on the, placed on the regular, the House has placed it on the regular calendar for next week, April 4th. I don't see anything about the companion bill in the Senate just yet. But it seems to be moving right along. And we should say the process, throughout this process in these committees, they are amending, right?
Yes.
Right. So
yes, and so there's potential for this to be amended. I think one thing that responsible gun owners might want to know about this bill as well is that it would create potential issues with our concealed carry permit reciprocity. So right now, Tennessee has a reciprocity with other states where if you have a concealed carry permit in Tennessee, you can carry your gun legally in other states. There's an agreement there. But if we lower our age down to 18, then there could be some issues where our gun carry permits would no longer be recognized and as valid in other states.
Well, so in that age group,
push us.
Sure.
Yeah.
So 18 to 21. Even if it's passed, if you cross state lines and the state doesn't have the same, it's only in Tennessee, and it creates some confusion. Yeah. Who was the name, Emma, on the phone? I'm sorry. Robert. All right. On which lines? 2. Got it. Sorry. Hey, Robert, welcome to Open Line. What's on your mind?
I've just got a comment
Yes, sir.
about all this gun legislation.
Yeah.
Really, all you have to do is watch the news at night. You see an uptick in crime, violent crime, carjackings, armed robberies. And I'll guarantee you those people committing those crimes, a lot of them are under 18.
Yeah.
And
juveniles.
I think if somebody's responsible and never had a criminal history, I think they should be able to carry, because that could possibly save people's lives. If I'm in a restaurant and somebody comes in there with a gun, I'm praying somebody in there, a law-abiding citizen that's got a gun, because these low-life scum that commit all this crime, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kill somebody just by looking at them.
Right.
And there's going to have to be some kind of raise in the capital punishment rates, because these criminals are getting emboldened. And that's my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Well, yeah, it's a frustrating situation. We hear that argument a lot. Gun advocates who kind of think, look, we should have responsible people defending themselves. The problem is, how do we know who's responsible and who isn't in a public place like that?
I do think that it definitely makes it difficult for law enforcement, because when they come on a scene and they see citizens with guns shooting each other, they don't know who's the perpetrator and who's the rescuer. And another thing is, I have trouble with that logic, because America has more guns per capita than other industrialized countries. We also have more gun violence and more gun deaths. I mean, this gun violence epidemic is uniquely American, and we have more guns than other industrialized nations per person, but yet we are not safer. We are at higher risk and more dangerous. So I think there can be this idea that we want to think that a good guy with a gun can save us in a situation, and sometimes that happens, but if you look more often than not, that is not the case. And I think, if you look at the numbers, more guns seem to make us less safe and not more safe.
Right. 737+ is the phone number. If you, like Robert and Joe before him, would like to call in with your take on this. Specifically, we're talking about this one bill that's still alive and moving along. And I am looking here, Jesse, the Senate bill, the companion bill, just yesterday was placed on the Senate Judiciary Committee calendar for next week, the 6th, which I think is Friday next week. April 6th. That's the latest there, placed on the Senate Judiciary Committee calendar. So definitely both of these bills are moving along. What do you think that the chances are of passage of this session?
It's hard to know. As you mentioned, bills get amended, and we have seen, some amendments go throughout the session. So this could potentially be amended to be, a little bit of a safer proposition, one that I still would find troubling, but perhaps less troubling. But I do think one thing that I have learned over the last few years following gun legislation is that our legislators, when they have it in their mind to pass a bill, it doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter who speaks out against it. They will do what they want to do. We saw that last year with the passage of permitless carry. We had the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, the Chief of Police Association, the TBI, all law enforcement came out and said, this is not a good idea. This will make it more dangerous for our law enforcement officers on the streets. And yet, our legislation passed it anyways. Our governor signed it into law at the Beretta gun factory in Gallatin and thanked the NRA. So, I'm not optimistic, but I cannot lose hope. That's why volunteers like me, we keep working every day, every session to educate others and to help them understand that we can promote gun safety legislation in a way that respects the rights of gun owners and just, again, creates that responsible gun ownership where we can come together around common sense.
So since this is a grassroots organization, I'm interested to know about best practices in other states where maybe the group has been seen some success in swaying lawmakers either to support a legislation or to defer it, delay it, rewrite it. And obviously, politics are different everywhere, but one of your news releases here, at least from Everytown, has Tennessee scoring 16.5 out of a 100-point scoring scale for gun law strength while maintaining a high rate of gun violence. How do you network your group with other states as you see if they have some success there?
Tennessee is a difficult climate to do this grassroots work in. One thing that I will say is we have found some success in the state of Tennessee by working together with other organizations that have aligned interests. So when we were working on the extreme risk protection order, we had social workers also speaking out in support of that. We have had law enforcement, speak in support of bills that we've had. So I think we do a lot of community and coalition building here within the state,
right,
to make sure, do what we can to bring people together. And then, another thing that happens in other states, and it happens here as well, is that, we are a very powerful movement of people who vote. So, when our legislators are not doing the will of the people, oftentimes we can get behind someone who would be a stronger gun safety advocate.
Well, that
and
is,
work and do what we can.
That is the way the system works, like it or not. The same argument with the recent redistricting and gerrymandering, and I heard someone arguing that who happened to be a Democrat, and the other person said, the way to stop this is you got to start winning elections so that in the next 10 years you'll have power and be able to do it. Whatever you think of it, I'm not taking sides, but yeah, the bottom line is if you have enough people to vote for the person who represents your ideals, in this case with this legislation, that's just the way it works. But hold on right there, because we've got a caller that I want to get to, and it is Brad on line 2. Brad, welcome in, sir.
Yeah, I was just wondering what your take is on cities and states like New York, California, and Chicago, who have the most strictest gun laws in the nation, but yet the crime rate is just off the charts.
What's interesting is I hear that about Chicago a lot, but actually Memphis is a deadlier city than Chicago is when you look at population and the number of people killed by gun violence. So actually Memphis is worse than Chicago if you look at the numbers. So I also think you have to look at something like Chicago. A city and a state is only as strong as the cities and the states that surround it. So you may have a city like Chicago in a state of Illinois that has strong gun laws for gun safety, but there might be a neighboring state like Indiana that has weaker gun laws. And that people don't stop at the state line. So, guns can flow in across state lines. But, like I said, I think it's really interesting to know that Memphis is one of the most deadly cities in the country, and that's right here in Tennessee.
To me, I've been covering these news stories for years. I don't think it really matters to people who want to harm other people what the laws are. They are lawbreakers. No matter what the laws are in their state, like you said, they're going to find a way, sadly, to get a weapon, whether it's a gun or something else, and break the law for whatever reason. And it's sad because Chicago is a part of the United States, and so is LA, and I know there's a big political discussion, and there is some violence in some cities. It's just terrible, and everybody has their take on it for sure. I just wish, like everyone else, we could solve it and start to save lives, because it's just a sad thing. But I'm glad you brought up the Memphis situation. All right, we're going to take a break, and we got another caller. Brad, thank you very much for calling in and bringing that up. We got Carolyn on hold. We'll get to your call coming up. Be patient. We'll be right back.